Ever felt like you were living someone else's story? Like your days were just one long chain of reactions to your spiraling thoughts, to overwhelming emotions, to a world that felt like it was happening to you instead of with you? I know that feeling. It's hollow. It's like being a passenger in your own body, watching a life unfold that you never actually chose. And underneath it all, there's this persistent low hum of anxiety, this sense of being trapped in a book that you didn't write. But what if I told you this? Your reality isn't as solid as it seems. The way you experience life, your beliefs, emotions, even your identity, none of them are set in stone. It's just a story. And you hold the pen. So in this video, I'm going to share 7 powerful self-awareness hacks that didn't just tweak my habits, they rewired my entire perception of reality. And stick with me, because the third one feels strange at first, but has the power to uncover truths that most of us miss. So before these shifts happened, my inner world was complete chaos. My mind was a nonstop critic, replaying old conversations, second-guessing every choice I made, and predicting worst-case scenarios. My emotions were like unpredictable storms that I just thought I had to endure. But here's the truth. I was outsourcing my sense of self. My happiness depended on approval, and my peace depended on all the circumstances being absolutely perfect. My worth was so fragile that one criticism could completely shatter it. It was this never-ending loop. I'd feel anxious, then judge myself for feeling anxious, and then just spiral into more anxiety. It was exhausting. And I believed that was just me. That I was just an anxious, reactive person who had to live this way forever. I thought transformation was more about adding more discipline, more routines, more efforts. But I didn't realize that real freedom isn't about adding. It's about seeing through what was already there. And that's where self-awareness begins. Hey, I'm Kira. Welcome to Love Rising. This is a space where healing meets truth, where science meets spirit, and where your story becomes your power. So if you're ready to rise into who you were always meant to be, subscribe, walk this path with me. All right, let's dive right into hack number 1. So my first major shift came when I realized something that Carl Jung had warned us about. Until you make the unconscious conscious, it will direct your life and you will call it fate. That constant inner voice, the critic, the doubter, the one whispering you're not enough, wasn't speaking truth. It was just repeating old stories I had inherited from my past, from pain, and from other people's projections. And neuroscience confirms this. Our brains wire themselves around repeated thoughts. And Hebb's law puts it simply: neurons that fire together, wire together. So every time I believed the story of not being enough, my brain etched that pattern even deeper, until it felt like reality itself. But the gift in this is extremely clear. If my brain is capable of wiring those old stories in, then it's also capable of wiring in new ones. And ancient wisdom echoes this too. The Stoic philosopher Epictetus, I hope I said that right. Anyways, he said that it's not events themselves that disturb us, but our interpretation of them. So this is exactly what happens with our inner narratives. They're not objective reality, they're just interpretations, lenses. So the hack is this: start catching the story in real time. When a thought comes like, I'm failing or I'll never change, pause and then ask yourself, what story am I telling myself right now? That simple question cracks open a door, because it moves you from being the main character lost in the script to being the author holding the pen. So from there, you can ask yourself, what's a more empowering way to tell this story? And when you realize that you're not chained to the old script, you can reclaim your agency. you can rewrite the story of your life. Which brings us to hack 2. But here's the thing. You can't rewire your story if you're never here to notice it. And most of us live in this mental time machine, looping the past, rehearsing the future, and it's no wonder we feel trapped. The only moments we ever actually have is the present. And psychologists call this temporal dissociation. It's when your mind is anywhere but now. And studies show that this wandering mind is directly correlated with unhappiness, regardless of what you're actually doing. And on the flip side, neuroscience reveals that mindfulness and present moment practices reduce activity in the brain's default mode network, which is the system responsible for rumination and worry. So when you return to the now, you starve anxiety of its fuel. And spiritual traditions have been telling us this for centuries. In Buddhism, the present moment is not just where you are, it's the doorway to liberation. And the Taoists put it this way: do you have the patience to wait until the mud settles and the water is clear? The now is where clarity lives. So here's the hack: radical present moment awareness. Anchor yourself to your body. Feel the rise and the fall of your breath. Notice the air on your skin, all the noises and sounds that are around you. And if you catch your mind spiraling, that's okay. Just gently guide it back to right here, right now. And do it over and over again. And this isn't a glamorous practice, and it's not a one-time epiphany. It's a practice that rewires your brain. It shifts your focus, and it teaches you that peace isn't found in some perfect future. It's right here, right now. And when you get good at being here, you'll notice something else. Self-judgment begins to loosen, which brings me to our next hack. So hack 3. This is the one that feels uncomfortable at first, because we've all been programmed to be our own harshest critics. We don't just feel, we immediately judge what we feel. I'm so weak for being sad again. Why am I anxious? I should be over this. Blah, 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 blah. All of those judgments piles pain on top of pain. And Carl Rogers, one of the most influential psychologists of the 21st century, said, "The curious paradox is that when I accept myself as I am, then I can change. Acceptance is not weakness. It's the soil where transformation takes root." And neuroscience backs it up. When you shift into observation instead of judgment, your brain engages the prefrontal cortex, which is the part that is responsible for clarity and regulation, rather than the amygdala, which fuels our fight or flight response. So in other words, curiosity calms the storm, judgment intensifies it. So here's the hack: become a compassionate observer. When sadness arises, just notice it. When anger flares, just see it for what it is. No story, no shame, just curiosity. And this is etched in mindfulness traditions. Observing thoughts like clouds drifting across the sky. They come, they go. You are the sky, you're not the storm. And journaling and any sort of creative activity helps here too. Writing down your thoughts and emotions, or even doodling and drawing them, which is what I love to do. But when you do these things, and you do it without analyzing what you are doing, you create the space between you and them, between you and your emotions. And in this space, compassion grows, and the inner war quiets down. And this is where something incredible happens. When you stop fighting yourself, you discover a deeper strength that you didn't even know you had. The awareness that you don't have to judge yourself to grow, you just have to listen. And that brings us to hack 4. which can be one of the greatest traps we fall into, which is labeling ourselves. We all do it. We label ourselves as, I'm anxious, I'm not creative, I'm not good enough, I'm not the kind of person who can change. I mean, there's 1,000,001 labels. But here's the truth. You are not the finished product. You are a process in motion. And neuroscience confirms this through the concept of neuroplasticity. Because the brain's ability to rewire itself at any age. So every new thought, every new habit, every new choice literally reshapes your neural pathways. You're not stuck. You're just sculpting yourself moment by moment. And Carl Rogers, a pioneer in humanistic psychology, put it beautifully. The good life is a process, not a state of being. It is a direction, not a destination. And spiritually, this echoes the wisdom of, Heraclitus. And he was a Greek philosopher who said that you cannot step into the same river twice. Just as the river flows and changes, so do you. So the hack here is to stop defining yourself by some static labels and start embracing yourself as an evolving process. Instead of saying, I'm not good at this, say, I'm learning. Instead of saying, I've always been this way, try saying, I'm becoming. This shift opens the door to infinite possibility, because if you are a verb and not a noun, then your story is still being written. Which brings us to hack 5. So we've all heard about gratitude journals, right? But let's go deeper. Gratitude isn't just a habit, it's a lens. The lens you can use to determine the world you see. From a neuroscience perspective, gratitude practices literally rewire your brain's reticular activating system, which is RAS. And it's the filter that decides what information your brain pays attention to. So when you constantly focus on what you appreciate, your brain starts scanning your environment for more of it. So gratitude doesn't just feel good, it trains your brain to see all of the abundance around you instead of the lack. And ancient wisdom agrees too. The Sufi poet Rumi wrote, wear gratitude like a cloak, and it will feed every corner of your life. So here's the hack. Practice gratitude as perception, not just as a practice. Instead of only listing things at the end of your day, challenge yourself to walk through life asking, what can I notice here that I can appreciate? Your morning coffee, a stranger's smile, the sound of rain. And noticing all the gratitude, it doesn't mean ignoring pain or pretending everything is fine. It simply means expanding your vision so your story isn't only written in suffering. Gratitude, it balances the narrative. It widens the frame so you can see both the challenge and the blessing. And when gratitude becomes your lens, life itself becomes richer, more vibrant, more alive. That brings us to hack 6. So when we think of transformation, we imagine these grand gestures, big leaps, total reinventions. But that's not it. Because neuroscience shows that our habits, tiny, repetitive actions, are what shape the architecture of our brain and behavior. And you guys heard about James Clear? Pretty sure you probably have. The author of Atomic Habits. He calls them votes for the type of person you want to become. And spiritually, this aligns with the Taoist teachings. The journey of 1,000 miles begins with a single step. This is one of my most favorite. So your future isn't built by giant leaps. It's built one small step at a time. So the hack is this: make daily offerings to your future self. Ask yourself, what is one small act you can do today that your future self will thank you for? Maybe it's drinking water before coffee in the morning. Maybe it's putting your phone down to rest your nervous system. Maybe it's finally writing one honest page in your journal. Because each act is like planting a seed. Alone, it may look small, but over time, those seeds grow into the forest of your becoming. And here's the deeper truth: these acts are not just self-discipline. They are self-love in action. Because when you show up consistently for your future self, you're sending the message, I'm worthy of my own care. And that takes us to hack 7. Mindfulness isn't just some meditation app or 10 minutes you spend on a cushion. No, its power is unleashed when it becomes a way of moving through life. And neuroscience shows mindfulness practices calm the amygdala. Remember, our brain's fear center? And it actually strengthens our prefrontal cortex, which helps with focus, compassion, and resilience. But here's where we miss the point. Mindfulness isn't separate from self-care. It's the foundation of it. And ancient wisdom teaches us the same. I believe it was Krishna who said that yoga is the journey of the self, through the self, to the self. Mindfulness is that journey. It's not something that you just do. It's how you show up for whatever it is you are doing. So here's the hack. Make mindfulness the thread that weaves through your whole life. When you eat with awareness. When you walk, feel the ground beneath your feet. When you speak, notice the tone of your voice. And when you rest, really rest. This transforms self-care from random fixes to a holistic philosophy that touches every part of your being, physically, emotionally, mentally, and spiritually. Instead of being something you occasionally do, mindfulness becomes the way you live. And when that happens, life itself becomes your meditation. Every moment becomes an opportunity to return to presence, to align with your truth, and to live with intention. So we've went through all 7 of the hacks. And all of these hacks, these practices, give you the awareness to see yourself clearly. But here's the thing. Awareness alone isn't going to set you free. It's the key that unlocks the cage. So the door is open, but you're the one who has to decide if you'll walk through it. And that choice, the choice to show up raw, real, and authentic, is where transformation really begins. Because it's not just about noticing your patterns or observing your thoughts. It's about choosing to live beyond them, to step out of the performance, to risk being misunderstood in order to be fully known. So self-awareness is powerful, but it's not the destination. It's the invitation. And when you accept it, that's when freedom starts to become real. When you begin to live from this place, not just noticing, but choosing, you start to see the evidence all around you. The shift might be subtle at first, but over time, they add up to something undeniable. You realize that the world itself hasn't changed, but you have. And that change reshapes everything. And looking back on my own journey, the difference is staggering. And right, the world didn't change, but my relationship with it did. I went from living like a character trapped in someone else's story to realizing that I've been the author all along. And that's what these 7 hacks are really about. They're not quick fixes. They're not surface level positivity, but they are deep shifts in your awareness that rewire how you experience life. You've always held the pet. So the question is, Are you ready to stop editing your truth and start writing the story? The story your soul was born to tell?